Isuna Hasakura's Wolf Parchment is a continuation of his Spice and Wolf series. As with Spice and Wolf, Wolf Parchment started out as a light novel series in 2016, before being adapted into a manga in 2019, with the English translations of both coming out a little more than a year after the Japanese. But since I haven't read any of the light novels, this video will only be going over the manga, which I've just picked up recently. Also, just a blanket spoiler warning for all of Spice and Wolf, since this is a sequel after all. We good? Cool. Wolf Parchment takes place roughly 13 years after the original story ended. It focuses on a grown-up Tote Cole's journey with Lawrence and Holo's daughter, Muri. Cole, who previously traveled with Lawrence and Holo for a while as a boy, has been living and working at their bathhouse in the northern town of Nyohira, while continuing his studies to become a priest. He is relatively reserved, but passionate in his own way, and committed to his larger goal, which I'll get to later. Once Muri was born, he became an older brother to her. Muri herself, meanwhile, is energetic and very naive to the ways of the world outside of Nyohira, in stark contrast to her mother, who isn't called a wise wolf for nothing. Although this does make sense, since Muri has spent most if not all of her life at the bathhouse. And whereas Holo is several centuries old, Muri is only 13 at most? But still considered an adult? Oh, medieval fantasy manga Europe, never change. And while we're on the topic of Muri, she seems to have the ability to manifest her wolf ears and tail at will. Or she's constantly scrunching the top of her head and hides her tail up her shirt or something. Also, she has 4 ears instead of 2. Holo only has 2 ears, why does Muri have 4? Anyway, so what about the actual plot? Well, if Spice and Wolf could be summed up as medieval economics but there's a wolf girl there for some reason, then Wolf Parchment is the Reformation, but there's a wolf girl there for some reason. Okay. Let's take a closer look here. So like I mentioned earlier, Cole has been studying to become a priest while at the bathhouse, the best place to do so of course, and now that he's grown up and has connections, he sets out with a goal in mind. See, the kingdom of Winfield and the church are at odds with each other. The church has been overtaxing the kingdom, and to coerce the people into paying, they've suspended all religious services in the region, including baptisms, weddings, and funerals, for the last 3 years. In addition to that, the church has been hoarding that money, causing a shortage of smaller coins. To combat the iron-fisted and corrupt church, Cole joins forces with the Devout Company and Winfield's heir Highland to write and publish Our Book of God, a translation of the scriptures into the common vernacular. Right now, the scriptures are written in an old style that only priests are taught to understand, but Cole believes that everyone should be able to read it. As you can probably guess, the church disagrees. The opening chapters are obviously exposition and nothing crazy happens, but I like this story so far. I think it has a lot of potential going forward, and it'll be interesting to see what obstacles Cole faces on his path to becoming a priest and reforming the church, and just how Muri learns about the world. I'm sure the light novels are much farther along than the manga is, but again, I haven't read them. Volume 2 of the manga is scheduled to come out on October 19th of this year, however, so there's not too much of a wait. Now, I've gone over the story, but a manga also has pictures, so how do they look? Well, pretty dang good. Wolf Parchment's artist is one Hidori, who is taking up the torch from Keito Kome, who did all of Spice and Wolf. The style is very similar between the two, so there's no jarring shift going from one to the next, which is nice. The character designer is still Ju Ayakura as well, so that helps too. Although, Hidori's style does incorporate more of a, I don't know the exact word, but like, anime aesthetic sometimes. I mean, Spice and Wolf had sparkly backgrounds or whatever, but it felt more subdued. I noticed it especially in characters' faces doing that. It's not a big deal or anything, just an observation I had. And now for a couple miscellaneous topics. Wolf Parchment is rated OT for older teen, while Spice and Wolf is M for mature. Presumably, this indicates that Parchment will have less explicit nudity than Spice did. In fact, Volume 1 has very little nudity in general, explicit or not. Although Cole does get propositioned to a brothel in broad daylight. The OT rating also means that the Wolf Parchment manga will hopefully be spared Spice and Wolf's sad fate. What sad fate do I mean? I mean that the cover of every single issue of Spice and Wolf is slapped with a big old parental advisory explicit content warning, ruining the beautiful art even if that volume doesn't have any nudity in it at all, and they're all wrapped in plastic on the shelves so you can't leaf through them. Then when you go to check out at Barnes & Noble, the old lady behind the counter judges you, meaning you have to buy the rest of the series off their website and pay extra for shipping. That fate. And I just wanted to mention that the edition I have has a page numbering error. It goes from 21 to 22, to 23 to 24, then back to 23 again, before going on to 26 and 27. It's super minor and the only one I saw, but it made me chuckle. And that's all I really have to say. Wolf Parchment Volume 1 should be available wherever manga is sold, so go check it out. If you've already read it, what'd you think? I might review Volume 2 once it comes out and make this like a thing, but we'll see. Thank you very much for watching, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.